I am pleased to announce that version 5.0 is officially released, and there's quite a few features that I know I'll be using whenever I go out in time races. I'll use quite a few of these every time I go out, and there's a lot of features that a lot of people have been asking for a long time that are finally included in this one. For example, the Finish Links interface and the Athletic.net interface and Nikon camera interface. So a bunch of great stuff here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look. You probably received an email if you're one of the users or have contacted me about systems before that list everything out. But sometimes it's better just to see it with your own eyes. So we're going to take a quick look so you can see how things work. And then we'll make this as fast as we can. No one wants to sit through an hour-long video. So I'll be going really fast, but obviously this is a video. You can rewind and go back and replay it if we cover something too quickly. So first thing I want to do is cover how to get updates. This is something that new timers often ask me about. So basically all you have to do is click on the free trial link on my website. If you go to my website, the page is broken up into two sections here. The left side is for those looking for timing systems, and the right side is for those looking for, people that visit my website looking for timing services, basically race directors. And so what's nice with this is I get requests from all over the world, people, race directors looking for timers, and with I think 35 countries now that have where I have a customer, and then of course hundreds here in the U.S. Not only do I provide timing systems, but what's great is I'm also providing a lot of customers to the timers too. So, and I don't charge for that. Of course, I like providing the race director with a friendly timer, and I like giving you guys business. So it's worked out well. And so what you'll do is you'll click on the link on the left and then click on free trial. That will download the software. I've already got it downloaded here, so you don't have to wait for that to download. When you run the installer, this will simply just update the software, but make sure that you've got the software closed first, and then you can run the installer. And now if you get the option to repair, that means you've already got the very newest version. So you can just hit finished or cancel. And so otherwise, it will run through and you just hit next all the way through, and that gets you the update. So that is how to update the software. And as always, updates are free. There's no yearly fees of any kind, and I'm here to help you if you need any support. And so, but yeah, so that's a quick overview. Let's dig into version 5.0. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the things that you'll see that's different. And we'll start from the left and go to the right. And again, we'll go as quick as we can here. So if you click on Create Race, one thing I guess I'll say real quick is that when you get version 5.0, the software, when you open it, may tell you that you need to update your database, and it pulls up the option screen for you. Click on the Update Database button. Even if you didn't click on it and hit save, it's going to force you to do it. That'll ensure that your tables have everything that the software needs to make sure there's no errors or anything. So just so you know, make sure you don't rush that. If you're using a really old version and it takes, with version 4.6, I believe there's quite a few changes. So if you've got hundreds of races and thousands of athletes, it may take 30 seconds to a minute or so to run. So just let that finish. All right. So when you click on Create Race, you'll see two new options when you click on From File. There's a delimited file and Excel. And so the way this works is now you can pull in a race file or a file that has one or many races in it. So really this can handle lots of different files and lots of different formats in the file, but really this was designed to handle athletic.net files. So athletic.net, let me pull this up here. You can export any one of these files. Now, this is as of the time of this recording. They may have additional file formats in the future, but so these are all the different files. And the way I've written the import is you can actually pull in any one of these files. I think most people are going to use just the Excel option. This is actually a CSV file, so it's not a XLS or XLSX file. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real fast. If I do from file, we're not going to go through the whole thing. I have a video, by the way, on most of these things you're going to see where it covers this in great detail. So I'm just going to give you the high points for now. So when you click on the file, it'll ask you what is your delimiter. You can, if you're not sure, open the file up in Notepad real quick, see what is separated by. If it's a semicolon, then put a semicolon. If it's a comma, then put a comma. or pipe or whatever. And then so enter that delimiter, and then it'll ask you as the first row column header, and basically is the very first row in the file. Does it simply give you the descriptions for the data below it? If you're not sure, just hit yes, and you'll see here that it looks like that the first row is not a column header. So instead, I'm going to select it again, and this time I'm going to hit no. And so now I've got all the athletes in there. And so, so this race ID, that's simply any identifier. It can be a string, it could be a number, where the software will treat every unique value as a separate race. And so here, this file has, I believe, 6 races. So if I scroll down, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what's nice with this interface is that, I can drag blank columns, or I can, click and do add column, put blank columns in here. And of course, I put the laps. Actually, laps, there's 0 laps. Well, it's a 1 lap race, so there's no lap data. You put the meters, put your miles. You basically put blank columns where you don't have data, and then put these other columns where you do have spots for the template. But what's nice with this is that the software will figure out a race name for you that makes sense. And so, race ID 1 here, it'll look and say, okay, well, this race is all females and it's 3,000 meters. So it will, and I can merge these two here. It'll basically create a race name for you that says something like, middle school 3,000 meters, or female middle school 3,000 meters. I can't remember exactly how I word it, but it makes sense. And so the guy at athletic.net I worked with was amazing. Really enjoy working with him, and I think he's very pleased with how this interface works. So anyways, that is one new thing you'll see under Create Race. Another thing is, now this was in 4.9, but it wasn't really complete. You could pull races in from Race Roster, but you could not push results up. That is now complete. This works exactly the same as the Run Sign Up interface. You just simply select the races you want to pull in, do add checked races. Now this by default pulls in using the credentials you set up in the option screen as default credentials for Run Sign Up or Race Roster or TFRRS or whatever. If most of the time when I talk to a race director, if they're using Race Roster or Run Sign Up, they are more than happy to give me their credentials so that I can pull the software, pull the race into the software. They know that at that moment they give me the credentials. They don't have to worry a thing about the website or publishing results or anything. And so you can always do change account here, enter their credentials, and then pull the race in. And so that was Race Roster, and like I said, it works and look exactly the same as the Run Sign Up interface. So Run Sign Up, you just select your races and then pull them in. All right, so that was Create Race. Let's look at Open Race. The only difference you see here is, now I think in 4.9, I believe I had these options. You can right click and quickly duplicate a race, which I actually duplicated these 2 races and simply renamed it and changed the distance. The nice thing about duplicating is that obviously that copies over all the race director information, copies over the divisions that are set up and everything. So it saves you quite a bit of time there. So anyways, the quick options are here. By right clicking, you do delete or duplicate. But these races now sort in descending order by date. In the past, when you added races, if you're like us, you times 70 to 110 races a year. Now I'm including each individual race. So if I go to, for example, this like sample race here, 5K, 10K, half, I'm counting each one of those as separate race I'm timing because I'm providing results for each one. And so we time, like I said, I think about 70 to some years 110 or so. And so this list could get pretty long. And in the past, it would put the newest races at the bottom, based on the order that you add them. So now this should be a lot easier to use. All right, so let's look at the email screen. So that's next. So you are no longer required to use Gmail. You can use any email provider you'd like. So if you already have a business account set up through Yahoo or Hotmail or whatever, you can now use it. I put in 6 in here as defaults. You can Google search your email provider and search, like, for example, Hotmail, SMTP information, or any email provider you're using, and just simply type in. You can give it whatever description you want. Let's do AG test for this one. Like I said, you do whatever you want for the description, but then here you type in the actual SMTP address and then the port number. And once you do that, then that will obviously be an option here you can pick, and you should be able to use any email provider you want. So that's the only change on this screen. The help menu, I've redone all of the help menus, all the help reports. So I would highly recommend, especially if you're a new timer, pull up, for example, the user's guide, and I would look at the getting started area here. I spent quite a bit of time making sure that in every way, as I say up here, basically I have to make the system, my job is to make a system reliable and easy to use. And so part of that is providing a lot of good help information. And so obviously I want everyone's first race and all the races obviously to go perfectly smooth, but it's those first few races where you're getting your feet wet. If you're going to make some mistakes, that's where you might make them. And so I'd recommend reading through the getting started text here, and then this will tell you how I like to set up my computers, how license keys work, and how to prepare for your first race. And so I'd definitely recommend you check that out. One thing that people don't really know about is in here, I think it's in the suggestions report. I even cover, like, if you're new to timing and you're thinking about or you're preparing to start a race timing business, I cover everything that we do. Here's how we charge for mileage. Here's how much we charge for different types of races and for the number of participants and all kinds of different stuff like that. So, you don't have to match our prices. I put it out there as a template. So just something to look at and get ideas from. And really, I make everything available that we do as a business. And so if you want to even see what we advertise, then if you go to the resources page, let me go, .com/resources. This is kind of a hidden thing. If you go here, then you can click on, for example, our contact letter. This is what we send out to race directors offering our timing services. And so basically, if you have the same software, of course, then most of these things you can do, you can also offer. And so I think we've put enough information out there to where anybody can start a timing business and get rolling with it. All right, so that's in the help menu. And then also the most important thing maybe is the users forum. I've been blessed with some amazing users that are out there, very happy to help other timers out. I've just been thrilled with how this is working. It's obviously decreased the amount of time I've had to spend answering questions because you guys are helping each other. And so, in fact, one guy said that because I don't charge yearly fees, his way to give back is to just help answer questions on the users forum, and that's definitely appreciated. So, very, very happy to see how that's going. But a lot of great information there. You can see about, for example, when safety pins are going on sale, or maybe where to find the cheapest or the best value of some other product, or maybe how to time a certain type of race. Maybe you get something new that you're not sure how to handle. Of course, I'm here to help, but you may find posting to a large group of timers instead of just to me, you get different ideas, and it's worked out really well. All right, so the last thing here is on the option screen. On the option screen, one thing you'll see that's new is the import athletes button here. And what this is handy for is if you let's say you decide to create a brand new blank database. Often, or not often, maybe about, I guess, once a year, my head timer will create a new folder. Let's say that he creates 2016 races. And so he'll put the database that contains all those races in the folder. And that way, if he ever needs those old results are there, but he may not want to. And the software, as you see, groups everything by year. So it's not really too much of a burden to have a bunch of races in your system, but he likes to sometimes clear everything out, start from scratch. But you don't want to lose the athlete information, because as you're typing people's names in, you want to be able to take advantage of the master search that it pops up on the right, where you can just simply double click on their name and not have to fill back out their email address and address and everything else. And so this import athletes button will let you select a database, let's say the 2016 database, and pull in just the athletes. Now, it'll pull in only the unique values. And so if you have a database that already has athletes in it, and you pick another database that has some of the same, well, of course, it won't pull in those same athletes again. It'll see, okay, well, look, the name, date of birth, email matches, so don't copy it. So this is a nice thing to kind of keep a centralized database with all athletes. So that's new. We had someone request that I put a copy button here, so you can set your backup path and go ahead and push the copy out instantly. So that's also new. No changes here on the RFID readers settings screen, I believe. So let's go to the printers and camera settings. So the big change here is the software now supports and can trigger when each finisher crosses the line, whether you're hitting the space bar or a tag is red, or you can even manually trigger the camera anytime, I think pressing F6, I believe. And so it can now support any WIA compatible camera. This covers a lot of the Nikon models, but also, there's probably lots of other brands that are WIA compatible. So if you have a camera, hook it up and try it out. Now, if it's a point and shoot, you're going to see so much of a delay that it's probably not going to be worth it. But the SLR type cameras, if you've got some kind of Sony or something else that's like a SLR, then plug it up and see if it works. So I think you'll be happy with that. And let's see if there's anything else in this tab here. Where's the, okay, so let's go over to the external accounts. So in here is where you set up, like I said before, all your default credentials. Your email, run sign up, race roster, and you'll see a new option down here where you can enter in your FinishLinks IP address and port number. So that's one big thing with this version 5.0 is you can send the reads directly to FinishLinks. And the guy I worked with there, I think his name is Mackenzie. He was also, I've really had a good time with the athletic.net and FinishLinks. Really fun interface to work on, and the guys were just amazing. They gave me great documentation, and I feel like I've maximized what they can do and what they offer and what the system here can do. So I've worked with a handful of AG race timing users that are requested the interface. They all tested it. I told them, hey, look, try to break it. Obviously, I don't want to release this, and I don't have a FinishLink system, so I can't really provide great support on it. So they are offering to provide documentation and videos and different things. And if you post on the users forum any questions about FinishLinks, they'll be answering it. So, I have a little emulator that I use, and it worked great on that. So very, very pleased with this FinishLinks interface. All right, let me see if that's it for, so that's it for the option screen. So now we're going to dig into, things that you'll see on each, like on the main screens. Basically, if you open up a race, and if you, are on the clock screen. So when you open a race up, one thing you'll see that's different, this will be good for international customers. The date control is different. And actually, you know what? I did not upgrade to 5.0. So let's do that real fast. You'll actually see this process here. Okay, so that was the update process, and now we're on 5.0. All right, so let's just look at this race here. So when I go to add an athlete, the database, the date of birth control is different, and it will format to whatever date format your country uses or whatever Windows is set up as. And so you're no longer having to change everything to a US format or some other compatible format. And so and it's also got a little drop down tool here. So I think a lot of people will enjoy how that works. I think in the past. It was a little more difficult. You had to prefix it with 0 first, and it was just hard to really get used to. So I changed the control there. I think people will be happy with that. But one thing you'll see here is the ability to turn on or off proper casing. So with it on, if I type in, for example, my name, the moment I tab out, you'll see that it automatically changes it to a proper case. Same with first name and same with the city name. But let's say that I have a name like this. I think this is the example someone gave, McCall. Well, I want the C to be uppercase, the second C there. So now you can turn it on or off, and you can do it, of course, on a single case basis here. So let's say I put this guy in and I turn it back on. Now the software will remember where you left it. So if you want to always have it on, well then just check it and leave it there. If you want to always have it off, just uncheck it and always leave it there. So that's an addition to 5.0. All right. All right, so another new thing with 5.0, let me select a different race here. Let's just pick one of these random ones. You can now use like their shift button, and I can select all of them in this race if I wanted to, and then multi-select more than one athlete and just hit the remove button, and that'll get rid of all of them. So you no longer have to, in the past, you can, if you want to delete all of them, you'd have to select the first one or really any of them and just hold down the delete key and then hold it down until they're all gone. But now you can just do a quick, select all and then delete. Minor change, but you may find that it comes in handy. So on this screen, some of the big things here down here at the bottom, some of the other screens, I'm not going to pull them up. I'll just talk about them. The results kiosk, it now updates a lot faster than it used to. In the past, once you had about, now depending on how much RAM your computer had and how strong it was, it could change. But The little weak computer I use for results kiosk, once I had about 700 finishers in, and I had other finishers still coming in, the kiosk, if finishers are coming in on a pretty steady clip, maybe one every couple seconds, then the kiosk was taking so long to update that it became almost unusable. So the update process is a lot faster, a lot smoother. It should be able to handle any size race now. So that's a pretty big improvement with that. The View Reports button, you'll see a new option in here where it can create the athletic.net interface files or the files you need to upload to their website. The way this works is if you had multiple races, it will ask you which races do you want to include in the file, and of course it'll include those races and the athletes and the results and everything. So that's a pretty nice addition there. Make cancel. And then another new thing before we get into the clock screen is that on the course mapping feature, you can now type in your own URL. So I like using runningahead.com because they don't require that you log in, and it's got all the tools I need. This web browser control that I'm using here, I think is using like a Internet Explorer emulator. And what that means basically, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles as a full-blown like Chrome or whatever else. And so you may find that some websites don't work in here. And so I had some people requesting to use other sites, and so I basically made it to where you can type in what you want and try it out and see if it works. So that's new. All right. And again, a lot of these features, if you want to know, well, wait a minute, I want to see how that works. I've got videos that cover how to do course mapping and most anything you need. All right. So the only other thing, let's go ahead and go to the clock screen. This will be the last section we talk about here. All right. So one thing that's a big improvement is, and in fact, let me pull all the races in. So if I go time race, let me pick the sample races that are all occurring in the same day. All right, so when I click on time race, the software will ask you which of the races do you want to pull into the clock screen. Now, if you're timing like a cross-country race, and let's say that they're not going to start the next race until you're finished with the race you're on, and let's say they're running the junior varsity and the varsity boys together, then of course you'll check off just the races you want. But in this case, let's say that the 10K starts 10 minutes before the 5K, or let's say the half marathon starts 10 minutes before the 5K and 10K, so they're all going to overlap in some way. Or start at the same time, then you'll select all of them and hit continue. And so what's new with this is the checkbox always stay there. And so in the past, when you would check, let's say I want to start these two together, I would start those two together, hit the space bar, and then they're started. But now, I'm going to reset these back to 0. All right, so now the problem was in the past those checkboxes would go away after that, and you can only start one at a time. And so now let's say I want to start the half marathon. Let me actually check that one off. I'm going to start it, and let's just give it the 10-minute. Let's act like 10 minutes have passed by, and now I'm ready to start the other two races. So now you can check off these other two, and the software won't even let you check off this one. You can select it and see the clock going, but it won't let you check it off. So when you're ready to start it, you just on your mark, get set, go, and now you've got all 3 races started. And so there's that clock, and here's this one. All right, so that's a new feature in 5.0. This recent reads box. So the way this works is this: when you're timing multiple races at the same time, I've definitely been in this situation where you've got 2 or 3 races going on, and people from different races are finishing at the same time, and the software always shows you the newest read. The problem is, the way it's got things grouped, the screen can be jumping around so much that if you're trying to verify with the person writing down bib numbers in order, what the order actually was, it was very difficult to figure it out. Because again, the race clocks may be different in each one, so the finishing times could be drastically different. And so I had a great request from the users forum. Which, a little side note here, everything you see is features that when I go out and time races, I'm always looking for. How can I improve this? How can I improve any feature? Because not only does it make my job easier, but I've got timing crews that I send out, and I want just kind of my name on the line. Obviously, I want this to be perfect, and I want it to where it's as least amount of tech support possible. So I'm getting anything I see that it comes from the users forum. That's a great idea that improves things for everybody. So this is a system you guys helped build, and I appreciate it. So this is a request that came in from the users forum where you want to see recent reads. And so the way this works is, now I've got two ThingMagic readers attached. And so if I come over here, I've got a stack of bibs. Let me wave some around here. All right, let me do some of these. All right, so now I've got finishers in both races. And so the way this works is, you see all the reads in order here, and you can make this box bigger or smaller by dragging this up or down. But so that's all the recent reads. And you'll see another new thing is that these finishing times, if they're within a half a second of another finishing time, they highlight as yellow. So if I add a new time, you see this one is not yellow. That yellow, there's no problems with it. That simply says, hey, if you, for example, are timing a cross-country race, those timers want to know which finishers do I need to go back and review possibly, and so this will give you a clue on because for cross country, it's obviously very important, the finishing order. So the highlighting being yellow here just simply says, hey, here's the ones you may have to review. UHF RFID by nature is not laser precise. Most of the time it gets everybody in the right order, but it does have a kind of a cone shape coming out of the antenna. So, and depending on a lot of different variables, it could pick one tag up just a hair before the other one. So this feature comes in handy. Another thing about this recent reads, by the way, is manual entries are not put in instantly. Because you may be putting in someone that ran by 20 seconds ago, and you're just now getting them in the system. And so once you have everything corrected, let's say this guy ran, he actually won the 10K. Let's say it was, now obviously these times are not right here. We're going to do 1 minute and let's say 20 seconds. So his time is not yellow, and the moment that I refresh the results, but his bib number will be listed in the correct spot. So these bib numbers, by the way, are in order descending. So here's the very latest read at the top, and here's the very first read at the bottom. And so we had this guy, of course, as the very first read. And so when I refresh the results by pressing F5, or you see here in the guide tab, refresh results, then his bib number shows up in the proper spot, even though it's put in manually. So that's kind of how that works. Another thing here I'm noticing is that the auto copy feature, which is something you'll use if you have a results kiosk set up, you can now customize how frequently the software checks to see if it should push a copy out. And so this is something that if for some reason I don't recommend pushing a file across the network, maybe from the main timing computer to a shared folder on your kiosk, it's better to push the file locally on the main timing computer. That way it's instant, and the core computer is not getting doing all the work of pushing across. But if you are pushing across, then this will make it to where maybe it's not hitting your computer so often, trying to push across the network all the time. So anyways, that's another new thing here. Let's see. Okay, so the RFID Readers tab, one of the big improvements for this version 5.0 is, if you look under this little activity indicator, you'll see a number. This number represents how many readers you have currently connected and reading. And so the software now does a status check, where basically what's happening is, when more than if 5 seconds or more has passed since a reader has picked up a tag, the software will go out and say, hey, are you still here? And it takes a few seconds, sometimes depending on the type of reader. It could take even up to 30 seconds sometimes for some readers to report back, or actually the reader doesn't report back, the computer reports back saying, I got no response. And so when that happens, let me go ahead and disconnect one of my readers here. And so I just disconnected it, and I may have disconnected. Okay, so right then, the software wasn't reading tags. It may have only been a couple of seconds away from doing the check. So right when I disconnected it, it went ahead and told me, okay, it's disconnected. And so you'll see that what happens is, you may not be on this tab. You may be on the athlete tab. And so I made it to where the number shows up red right here if there's something like, one of the readers dropped. And so now I see, okay, I've only got one. And so there's a warning flag there saying, okay, something's wrong, check it out. And so let's say I look over and say, oh yeah, I just disconnected my USB reader. Another new thing with 5.0 is I can right click and do reload list. And what this does, of course, this reloads the list of readers, and then for any USB, it'll auto detect and re-add it. And so now I've done that, I'm going to go and reattach my reader. And if I right click now and do reload list, it will automatically add the other reader and then also reconnect to it. And so now I've got both my readers back up. So this is a nice thing that will let you know if there's any problems. In the past, you just basically had to look at the lights on the reader and hope it was reading. And so I think you'll enjoy this. All right. Let me go through my list of stuff I wanted to cover. That was the status monitor, the Finish Links data feed. I think that's on, yeah, so that's right here. Basically, I don't have an IP address or port number set up for the Finish Link, so it's disabled. But if you were to enable it, you'll see different, submission options here. The store RFID activity. So this basically was, I changed how this works. And the catalyst for why I changed it was because I had one user and also Run Sign Up ask that I write an interface file because there's a lot of users that use Race Director that really want to use something like AG Race Timing as kind of middleware, so that way they can buy their own hardware. They don't have to buy it from these places that have really high markups, and they're already comfortable using Race Director, and they like the reports that Race Director offers, or maybe some different functionality. So what they wanted is to basically use my software as middleware, and so. So now with 5.0, if you do this option that says store RFID activity, you can specify how frequently the data is written out to the file that Race Director will be watching for. So you can change that here. And then let me go and make a change. And I think a date shows up. I may not have a backup path set. But anyway, so what happens here is that it will send out all the reads. Actually, I think I have to put an athlete in. So it'll send out all the reads to the file, and then it'll tell you if which antenna picked up the tag. It'll tell you how many reads total you've had for the entire race. It'll tell you how many reads for each bib number you had. So a lot of great information that file provides. So yeah, now it says file updated at 6 minutes. Let's see what's next. Okay, so on the TV tab, if you do the public display, so this is the default look, the white background with the black text, and then any finishers show up as green. Brand new finishers show up as in black font with their time under it. But you can change any of this now. So I can say, let's say I want the clock to be, which when you change that here, the sample shows you what the value currently is. Let's say I want that to be red, and let's say I want the background color. I'm sure I'm going to pick something hideous. Let's just do this color. And you can also specify your own custom color. So you can use this little slider bar here, and let's say you want it to be a light, pink or something like that. Let's do yellow. We'll do something like this. So you can change any of the colors. So this is a new thing with 5.0. And if you don't like what you did, just hit the reset button, and it'll change it all back to the default. All right, so that's new. And by the way, the software, I think I mentioned this before, it will now remember if you want to see the fractions of a second or not. And so you can turn that on or off. And then the software, like I said, next time you pull up the clock screen, it'll either keep it on or off based on your preference. Alrighty. All right, so another nice feature. So I want to cover one thing. There's a whole video that covers how the scan DNS tags works. This is a really cool feature I use every race now. So if I click on this button that says scan DNS tags, the way this works is I can walk all tags through the finish line, and it will, all the tags that were not picked up by the participants. And you see in the bottom right corner, it's counting the tags and saying, okay, well, you've had 11. Now I've just got a few sample bibs here. It's got 11 people that I'm going to mark as DNS, now 12. And so when you get done walking all the tags through and make sure to clear the finish line, then you can hit OK to say, okay, I'm done doing that. And then those athletes are now marked as DNS, and you'll see they're marked out here. What's nice with this is if you look in the top left corner of the screen here, the total number of participants is 154. I've had 10 finishers, and I've got 12 that are marked as DNS or DNF or DQ. That means there's 132 on the course. If you've been timing long enough, you know that's a question that's asked at almost every race. The race director walks up and says, hey, how many left? Or can I go ahead and give out the awards? So I provided a lot of functionality here to where you can answer yes or no. So, for example, this check award status, that'll look at for example, let's say that there's no females that are 10 to 14 that were registered for the race. This is looks like we're looking at the sample 10K here. Then it'll go ahead and highlight a green saying that was done. This overall males, this tells you, okay, this I don't have, I do have a walker that's in the race. He's on the course, or at least hasn't finished and not marked his DNS. So this will tell you which divisions you can go ahead and that are complete. Basically, you've already given an award, or there's enough finishers to give awards for them. So between these two features here, you should be able to answer most of the common questions that a race director asks. Another new thing is you can now, if you see a bib number that's coming and they're all by themselves and there's no one going to pass them, and let's say you already know the bib number as they're approaching the finish line, you go and type it in, and the moment they hit the line, you can just press the enter key. And so now, in the past, you'd have to hit the space bar to capture time and then type the number in. And so now you can just type the number in, hit enter. I would still recommend having one person dedicated to capturing times and another person at the end of the shoot writing numbers in order. It's extremely rare that I ever need my manual backup system. If I ever need it, usually it's just to glance over and let's say that someone didn't wear their tags and they ran through the finish line, and I need to know, okay, what was their time? And so I look over, write down their time real quick, and then I may go ask either the participant if I didn't see it or the person writing bib numbers down, hey, what was that bib number? And then of course I manually put it in my chip timing system. And so it's rare that I need to touch my manual system, but I forgot where I was going with this. What I was saying is typing in the number and hitting enter. So I'm just saying that for the first few finishers and maybe for the last few walkers, you may find that that's a little faster than having to hit the space bar, type a number, and press enter. All right. I think that is, I know this video is kind of long. Let me take a quick look at my notes. I believe that's all the main things I wanted to cover with 5.0. There's about 30 changes, like significant changes. I didn't list everything. Like, okay, someone wanted to move this here or add, some new fields over in the export to CSV. There's a lot of changes that I didn't even include, but there's about 30 significant changes, and that matches about what was in the last update. So, pretty big update here. I've been testing it for quite a while, and of course, you guys have been doing great with, I pushed a beta version out with the instructions of, hey, please try to break it. I never want to release something that on race day, this needs to be solid. And so I feel really good about this. Pretty excited to release it. So, all right, I guess that's it for 5.0, and thank you for watching.